Chapter 673, The Blood Wish Alchemical Path. When they reached the jujube tree, Jianghu tried one. It was sweet, which meant that it had been well taken care of. The jujube tree belonged to Xiao Li's family, and Qingqiu had brought it back for her. It had been well cared for, and Xiao Li, who was a glutton, never ate them all at once. "You haven't eaten these before?" Hong Yuye asked. After placing Xiao Li back in her room, they sat under the tree. "No." Jianghu shook his head. He rarely visited Xiao Li, and it was usually the spirit beast who kept her company. "Which form of the heavenly blade are you at?" Hong Yuye stood beneath the tree and looked up at the moon. "The fourth form," Jianghu said. The fifth form was still elusive. It was difficult to learn and required further study. After mastering the no-regrets technique, he would need to move on to the fifth form. Xinyuan sword is about to appear. What do you think will happen if someone else obtains it? Jianghu asked. Such extraordinary items could be powerful when used wisely but devastating if misused. The sword contained the sword intent of the human emperor, and its power was unimaginable. It won't matter. Hong Yuye looked at Jianghu. The human emperor was recognized by the heavens, the human race, and many other races. Even his enemies respected him. His sword can't be used by others. Even if someone tries to use it, they won't be able to do it at all. Those who can use that sword are recognized by the sword itself. Suddenly Hong Yuye's face turned serious. If you were the Grand Earth Emperor, would you use the sword of the human emperor? Maybe, Jianghu said. Do you think you'd be matching the sword, or the sword matching you? Hong Yuye asked. The sword only became the sword of the human emperor because of that person, not because anyone could use it. For Jianghu, none of that really mattered. He shook his head. I've never thought about these things, but it's better to use the sword. Since it is powerful, it would be a pity not to use it. Then what about the thing you said before? To wear the crown, one must bear the weight? Hong Yuye asked. It was clear she wanted to know why Jianghu was concerned about the sword's power even though he had the strength to use it. Jianghu lowered his head. There are some things I absolutely don't want to do. He didn't want to neglect his responsibilities in exchange for power. That was a line he didn't want to cross. Many things needed to be done, and Jianghu knew that he couldn't do them. It wasn't an easy path, but he respected people who could achieve difficult things. He didn't want to be a hindrance to them. If it was possible, he would try to help them instead. So, even if the Xinyuan sword was placed before him, he wouldn't try to use it. Hong Yuye looked at Jianghu. Finally, she took a bite of a white jujube. It's not as sweet as the peaches. Jianghu, on the other hand, felt that they were similar in taste. Hong Yuye glanced at Jianghu, and her figure began to fade. The Xinyuan sword is about to appear and needs the core array of the burning immortal formation. As her words faded away, Hong Yuye completely disappeared. Jianghu breathed a sigh of relief. As for his fourth half-moon blade, he no longer cared. Every time he changed blades, he had to deal with them disappearing with Hong Yuye. He glanced back at Xiao Li's residence and left. On the way, he thought about Hong Yuye's words. It seemed that the Xinyuan sword wasn't as easy to obtain as he thought. It required the core formation runes of the burning immortal formation. Only one person had come across such a formation. That was Xing from the gathering. Xing received information about the human emperor's sword at the secret location and also encountered that formation. It seems that the two are indeed closely related. I wonder if the secret location has any connection to the fallen immortal clan. Xing has never talked about the origins of the secret location, but from his words, it seems that the Bright Moon sect may not be aware of it anyway. Jianghu doesn't know how the burning immortal formation could be connected to the Xinyuan sword. While he was still thinking, he sensed a wave of blood-red aura. A blood wish path aura? In an instant, he sensed the direction it was coming from. They're not hiding. They're coming straight toward me. There's no murderous intent, so it doesn't seem like they want to harm me. Finally, a young man approached him with a friendly smile. Jianghu didn't hesitate and used the daily appraisal ability. Those who used the blood wish path were often dangerous and shouldn't be underestimated. After reading the feedback, Jianghu was surprised. It was really senior brother Chen Chen. Whether he practiced the blood wish path or not, he would become a part of Chen Chen's breakthrough. Moreover, Chen Chen wanted to create the blood wish alchemical path, and it would involve sacrificing all those he cared about. Many thoughts raced through Jianghu's mind. By this time, Chen Chen had already reached in front of him. Junior brother, Chen Chen said with a smile. Jianghu pretended to be puzzled. I don't think I know you, senior brother. This person posed a threat, but he was unsure of how to resolve it at the moment. He couldn't make a move here. He would have to do that in Devil's Denver. Before Qianxin found the blood pool, he needed to get there first. To obtain information about the blood pool, he needed to go to the Lawless Tower once again. Nangong, you had mentioned it before. This reminded him of Yinwei, and he was unsure whether Qianxin was connected to Yinwei in some way. If that was true, the trouble would be even greater than he had anticipated. The Blood Wish path had been convenient for Jianghu till now, but he hadn't expected to attract such trouble so quickly. The root cause of everything was probably the blood pool, but he didn't know what kind of blood pool had given Qianxin the confidence to act so boldly and decide to massacre people within the sect. Qianxin smiled. I am Qianxin from the Candlelight Pill Pavilion. Jianghu bowed. Greetings, senior brother Qianxin. Would you be willing to take a walk with me, junior brother? I have some questions about certain spirit herbs that I'd like to ask you, Qianxin said. Of course. Jianghu nodded. He couldn't refuse because he didn't want to raise suspicions. Whether he practiced the Blood Wish path or not, it didn't matter. Either way, he wouldn't be let off the hook. What he needed now was to ensure that his cultivation realm was enough to not be questioned about it. Chapter 674, Blood of Great Power. Your insight into spirit herbs is quite unique, junior brother. Qianxin smiled as they walked. Jianghu shook his head to tell him that it was just a coincidence. They walked for some time and discussed various aspects of growing spirit herbs. They mainly focused on the ones provided by senior brother Bu Yi, which had boosted Jianghu's reputation. The talk was normal, but Jianghu soon noticed that the discussion veered deeper into cultivation techniques. These were not deep and profound insights, but rather subtle details of handling spirit herbs to ensure their optimal growth. It was a knowledge that few people could acquire in their entire lifetime. He's quite knowledgeable about spirit herbs. Why is he only an inner sect disciple? Jianghu wondered. Judging by senior brother Qianxin's abilities and knowledge, he shouldn't be just an inner sect disciple, unless he was deliberately concealing his true strength. Just when Jianghu thought the conversation would continue along the lines of spirit herbs, Qianxin suddenly asked, I heard that you practiced the Blood Wish path? The question startled him. Fortunately, Jianghu remained calm. Senior brother, you must be joking, said Jianghu. I'm not, Qianxin said. Even when discussing this topic, he didn't make Jianghu uncomfortable. The entire sect, and even the other sects, believe that you practice the Blood Wish path. Junior brother, you must have noticed that many people are keeping their distance from you. Jianghu shook his head. I really didn't notice anything like that. He explained that he had drawn some attention because of his work in the spirit herb garden, but people had quickly stopped paying attention to him after that. Qianxin nodded. Then, junior brother, you should pay more attention. It's not only a rumor within the sect but also outside. The major sects all believe that you practice the Blood Wish path. You are in a difficult situation now. Jianghu lowered his head. Thank you for letting me know, senior brother, but I'm currently being punished by the sect and cannot leave. Qianxin nodded. It's better for you this way. It won't be easy for them to find you. Jianghu agreed. After a while, the two parted ways. Junior brother, take care and thank you for clearing my doubts, Qianxin said before leaving on his sword. His arrival and departure were both brisk, and he had been very open during their conversation. Their interaction had indeed felt pleasant. Jianghu, however, couldn't help but wonder whether Qianxin had formed an opinion about him being a practitioner of the Blood Wish path. Several days later, in the middle of June, while tending his stall, Jianghu overheard some gossip. It was said that the sect had recently uncovered some infiltrators who were targeting the practitioners of the Blood Wish path. I remember that one of these spies was full of resentment when he was caught. He said he wanted to find Jianghu from the Cliff of Broken Hearts and kill him. Just who is Jianghu? I've heard this name several times now. Is he truly accomplished in the Blood Wish path? I don't know. I've only heard that he's an inner sect disciple at the Cliff of Broken Heart, and he's achieved quite a few merits within the sect. Jianghu found it strange. Why were people still targeting him? Later he learned that someone had discovered the spies some time ago. It was Qianxin who had discovered them. Qianxin had taken care of the issue before coming over to visit him. Jianghu was cautious. He didn't tell me but helped capture spies. That is a very strange way to win my favor. If Jianghu didn't know the fact that Qianxin was planning to sacrifice him in the blood pool, He would have thought Chen was a decent senior. Jianghu began his preparations for the upcoming mission to Devil's Denver. He was waiting for the mission to start while continuing with his daily life. He tended to the spirit herb garden, crafted talismans, and provided guidance to Cheng Cho for his cultivation. During this time he visited the Lawless Tower and asked about the blood pool. Nangong, you had mentioned it before. The blood pool was said to be located deep within Devil's Den and was formed by the gathering of ancient powerful beings. It was filled with boundless power. Nangong Yu also shared information on how to locate the blood pool, which wasn't very complicated. However, it was challenging to gain access to the location. Jianghu made his preparations for the mission to Devil's Denver. At the same time, the sect selection process was coming to an end, and the departure was scheduled for approximately 1 month later. By mid-July, just 3 days before the mission to Devil's Den, the sect began to gather its elite disciples who were going to the Black Heaven sect. "Senior brother, aren't you going?" Xiao Li asked as she held the spirit beast. "No. You take care," Jianghu said. Xiao Li, a true disciple, was expected to go, and so was Chu Chuan. Lin Ji was busy in the mines, and Cheng Cho didn't have the qualifications to participate in this trip. "Senior brother Jiang, I heard you can come with us if you want." Chu Chuan was puzzled. The longer he stayed at the Cliff of Broken Hearts, the more he found it strange. It seemed like senior brother Jianghu wasn't interested in anything else. Jianghu didn't explain his situation to Chu Chuan. Instead he said, "You remember to stick close to Xiao Li and the others." Although Chu Chuan was quite talented, he was still ordinary when compared to Xiao Li. If they encountered danger, he might not be able to protect himself. After all, the Grand Earth Emperor's knowledge was extensive. Being a Foundation establishment realm cultivator among powerful individuals was dangerous. When they leave, the sect would be left with fewer branch masters and disciples. I wonder if someone will take advantage of it. The Heavenly Note sect has angered quite a few people, and this would indeed be a good opportunity for a surprise attack. Perhaps the reason Senior Chen felt that time was running out was because of this. Once they made their move, the sect may be unable to respond immediately due to a lack of people. The attackers would be able to escape. Regardless, Jianghu had to act first. In 3 days, Devil's Den will open. I'm almost prepared. Chapter 675. The Birthplace of the Heavenly Fate. Misfortune Pearl. There was only 1 day left before the Devil's Den mission. Jianghu sat cross-legged in his room and thought about it. He wondered if he should accept the mission this time. In theory, he didn't need to explicitly accept the mission, but if he entered the place without informing anyone, it might turn out to be dangerous. However, he indeed hadn't left the sect, and he didn't know how the law enforcement hall would react if they discovered his absence. Jianghu wanted to ask, but he didn't know who to ask because Louis Xingchen had long since disappeared. Sometimes an undercover agent was indeed important. He had relied on several undercover agents and spies in dangerous situations. Senior Sister Ming Yi and Lu Xingchen had frequently given him useful information. They had helped him numerous times. Now that there were fewer undercover agents in the sect, it was almost inconvenient. After much hesitation, Jianghu decided to enter Devil's Den secretly. He didn't accept the mission. It was unlikely that this trip would take too long. If he sensed that it was taking too long, he could come out and accept another mission. The round trip wouldn't take much time. On the day of the mission, he continued to manage the Spirit Herb Garden as usual, and he also listened to Ching Chao's report on recent events. There were some situations in the outer sect's Spirit Herb Garden, but nothing that required his immediate attention. So he didn't need to worry too much. At noon, Jianghu left the Spirit Herb Garden. At the Lawless Tower, Nangong Yu questioned Hai Luo. "I've revealed the secret. Why haven't I received what I wanted yet?" Nangong Yu asked. Heavenly King Hai Luo gave her a sidelong glance. "Wait a bit longer and you'll appreciate my guidance." Nangong Yu chuckled. "You're just trying to stall for time, aren't you?" Heavenly King Hai Luo remained indifferent. "Who do you think you are? A cultivator at the early stage of the primordial spirit realm. Bah! You think I need to stall for time to deal with someone like you? I could defeat you with one hand. Even if you joined forces with old tattered hair here, I would defeat you with my pinky." "You little scum," Zhuang Yuzhen said lazily. He didn't wait for Heavenly King Hai Luo to respond. "Is the blood pool you talked about the same one as the one I'm thinking about? You know about it?" Nangong Yu was surprised. "Is it really that blood pool?" Zhuang Yuzhen asked in disbelief. I'm not certain, but there's a good chance it's the same blood pool. Otherwise, why would it be so difficult to find? Nangongyu said. Do you know about it, Heavenly King Hai Luo? Zhuang Yuzhen asked. Hai Luo chuckled but didn't answer him. Nangongyu said, if it's indeed that blood pool, it will have a significant impact here, especially on the blood wish path. Once the fusion is successful, no one knows what will happen. While they were talking, Insha arrived with several black-robed people. All of them were members of the Lawless Tower. They were escorting two pale-faced men. Heavenly King Hai Luo looked at the newcomers in surprise. Isn't that the teaching master from the Heavenly Tower? What is he doing here? At that point, an elderly man looked toward the second prison cell in astonishment. Heavenly King Hai Luo? Yes, it is I. Heavenly King Hai Luo nodded. Is this really the Heavenly Note sect? It seems you don't even know who captured you. Nangongyu chuckled. It's complicated. The old man sighed. They ambushed us and later they tortured and interrogated us about some overseas matters. They didn't leave us with a choice. I thought I would die if I had no value. Is that so? Zhuang Yuzhen asked. We've been here for over a decade and it's been quite decent. As long as that person didn't beckon them closer, everything would be fine. At that moment, Nangongyu stared at the man on the other side very carefully. Heavenly Spirit Tribe. Who are you? The man asked. Stop catching up. Walk ahead. You'll have plenty of time to catch up later, said Insha. You can try anything you like, but I'm not going to tell you anything, said the man in disdain. The man beside him sneered. I've lost my cultivation realm already. What do I have to fear? Insha and the others didn't say much but looked at them rather strangely. Heavenly King Hai Luo looked at them as though he was reminiscing about his past. This left the two men puzzled. Once Insha and the others left, the old man asked, why were the three of you looking at us like that? The fifth floor is different from the others, Zhuang Yuzhen said. Indeed it's different. Here you have Heavenly King Hai Luo, Nangongyu said. She hadn't gained anything and was half dead anyway. To this day she hadn't ever seen Hai Luo's power that he claimed was so great. Heavenly King Hai Luo? The old man was astonished. He, who is more qualified than me here? Heavenly King Hai Luo sneered. The old man nodded. But he was still puzzled. Is the fifth floor really that exceptional? They noticed that the captives here were well taken care of. Compared to the ones on the lower floors, they looked like they lived a decent life. Zhuang Yuzhen didn't say much and turned to Nangongyu. If someone were to control that blood pool, would it have that much of an impact? I don't know. We have people responsible for the blood wish path. They have more information. I'm not responsible for that, Nangongyu said. Which blood pool are you talking about? The man from the Heavenly Tower asked. What do you think? Nangongyu asked. Could it be that blood pool? The man from the Heavenly Tower looked shocked. You know about it? Nangongyu was even more surprised. How would you know that blood pool? Overseas people have been searching for it for a long time with no results, said the man from the Heavenly Tower. Which blood pool are you talking about? Asked the young man. Then he introduced himself. I am Yin Zichen, a disciple of the Mountain Sea Sword sect. Mountain and Sea Sword sect. Zhuang Yuzhen and the others turned to look at him. It was even more difficult for them to escape from here now. The Heavenly Note sect had managed to capture someone from the Mountain Sea Sword sect. So, everyone should stay put and face their deaths together. He betrayed the Mountain Sea Sword sect, said the old man in explanation. He then introduced himself. I am Wu Yang, gatekeeper of the Heavenly Tower. The Heavenly Kings know about me. So, which blood pool is it? Yin Zichen asked. I think it's better if the Heavenly King could provide an answer, Nangongyu said. Heavenly King Hai Luo glared at her. Who do you think you are? I don't need to listen to you or answer your questions. If I'm not mistaken, this blood pool contains blood from numerous powerful individuals from ancient times. The most frightening thing is that this pool is very likely the birthplace of the Heavenly Fate Misfortune Pearl, Wu Yang said. Chapter 676. Meeting Lu Xingqian again. At Devil's Den, Jianghu stood deep in the forest and watched a senior in the distance, who was splitting up with the others as they entered. He found that strange. They split up as soon as they came in. This area wasn't too deep inside, so there shouldn't be a need to separate. He had wanted to see if he could locate senior brother Chen and then make his move. This way he could finish it all at once. When he had just entered, he noticed that the array here had a certain chance of detecting him. It was different from ordinary arrays. It was an array of Devil's Den after all. The people inside might know that an uninvited guest had arrived, but whether they would inform the others was unknown. Regardless, he didn't have much time to spare. He needed to either find Senior Chen as quickly as possible or find the blood pool. It was difficult to find people, but he could find the blood pool more accurately. The blood pool didn't seem to be in a fixed location. Instead, it required the establishment of an array to resonate with it and create a pathway to reach it. One needed to be close to the blood pool for this to be effective. Finding the blood pool involved 3 steps. Firstly, using an array to detect the aura of the blood pool. Secondly, using fresh blood to dye the array red and create resonance. Finally, using a special method to establish a pathway. After that, it depended on the person's abilities. If he couldn't enter the blood pool, Jianghu would have to search for senior brother Chen. He had made other preparations, so no matter what the outcome was, he would be able to escape safely. After a short while, the array appeared on the ground. After activation, it indeed had the aura of the blood pool. It seems I can start here without going deeper. Jianghu didn't know what was in the depths of Devil's Den. Hong Yuya hadn't made that clear. But as soon as he looked ahead, he saw the stars flowing backward and falling, and because of this, he dared not approach. Once he made sure that he could proceed, he used his blade to cut himself, and then the blood dripped onto the array. At that moment, the array seemed to come to life. It guided the flow of blood and resonated with something deep within the earth. When the blood covered the entire array, Jianghu began to establish a pathway. A red light exploded and a blood mist enveloped the surroundings. However, after a while, a crimson path appeared. Jianghu took a step forward and walked in. At the same time, the power he had left outside also exploded. It erased his traces. His blood was incinerated by the purple flames. Jianghu continued forward. Nangongyu didn't know the way to the blood pool, but she knew it was extremely difficult to get inside. People from the Saint Bandits had mentioned it, so it was likely to be true. As he walked further and further, the blood mist got thicker. Fortunately, the mist dissipated on its own and created a path for him. However, he didn't know what would appear on this path or whom he might encounter. The deeper he went, the denser the mist became. Jianghu saw some bones on the path, along with damaged magical treasures. The bloodstains on the ground became more pronounced and turned moist. It felt like he might enter the blood pool if he kept moving forward. Sure enough, blood began to flow on the path. Although it was only on the sides, it gave him the feeling that he was about to walk into a sea of blood. The endless blood mist felt like a black cloud pressing down on him. It was ready to envelop him at any point. He felt as though he would soon become a part of the blood pool. Jianghu took a step and felt that he was stepping on something gelatinous. He lowered his head and saw blood. The path was about to be covered entirely by blood. Jianghu stood still and hesitated. He wondered if he had taken the wrong path, or if the only way to reach the blood pool was to enter it. After some hesitation, he continued walking forward. Slowly, the path beneath his feet completely turned into blood. He could feel that the deeper he walked, the denser the blood became. The blood mist continued to disperse, and after a long while, a human figure appeared in the blood mist. Jianghu was startled when he saw the figure. The mist was now thin enough that he saw the person's face clearly. It was a man with a stubble. He was standing on the surface of a pool made out of blood. His aura was vast and indestructible. It was hard for Jianghu to clearly sense anything. He used the daily appraisal ability without hesitation. Astronomical Academy? Jianghu was surprised. How could someone like that be here? It appeared that he was still alive. However, one thing was certain. This place was likely the blood pool. Jianghu was walking above the blood pool. His plan had failed. The blood pool wasn't at all like what he had thought. It wasn't a pool of water where he could lie and wait. At this point he couldn't wait for senior brother Chen. Suddenly the man opened his eyes. He looked at Jianghu. The blood water surged, but it only churned for a moment before settling down. "How did you get here?" the man asked in a hoarse voice. Jianghu frowned. "I used a passage to come here." He didn't lie to this person because he didn't sense any danger from him. Furthermore, he could activate the golden ring and leave. It was his escape route. Gu Jin looked at the man in front of him and chuckled. You seem quite young, but you're very confident. I don't understand what you mean, senior, said Jianghu. Gu Jin didn't dwell on it much either. He stretched his muscles and looked down at the blood water. He looked melancholic. I haven't seen a living person in many years, especially a young one. Why are you here, senior? Jianghu asked. Why are you here? Gu Jin asked in return. I'm here to see the blood pool. I came to see it too. I was arrogant and thought I could find out about the origins of the blood pool's formation, but I overestimated myself. All disasters and hardships are here. I came too early. Gu Jin shook his head with regret. Jianghu frowned. He didn't understand what this person was getting at. Still, he made a mental note not to explore the origins of the blood pool. Which sect or school do you belong to? Gu Jin asked. I'm just a wandering cultivator, Jianghu said. Nowadays, he had assumed the identity of Smiling San Shen, so he naturally wouldn't reveal his affiliation with the Heavenly Note sect. A wandering cultivator? I can see that you don't want to tell me the truth. Gu Jin smiled. Let's play a game then. If you win, I'll give you something. If you lose, you'll stay here with me. Thank you for the offer, senior, but I'm not very much into games. Jianghu declined his offer with a shake of his head. In that case, answer 2 questions for me. I don't have much knowledge to do that either. How about I teach you a technique that can suppress all things? I don't think I'm the right person to receive something like that. You're quite stubborn. Do you know who I am? Do you know what I can give you? I don't know, but I didn't come here looking for opportunities. I came here to look for someone. Gu Jin looked at the man in front of him in amusement. I can sense that 2 people have approached the blood pool through unconventional means, but they are only getting close and cannot enter the true blood pool. Is one of them the person you're looking for? As he spoke, images appeared on both sides of the blood pool. On the left was Chen Chen, who was walking around the blood pool but hadn't reached the edge yet. On the right was a man standing in a shallow part of the blood pool. His whole body was covered in blood. He was absorbing fresh blood from the pool. This person was none other than Lu Xingqian, who had gone missing. I've observed both of these individuals for a while. They are somewhat interesting, but they are too far away and I can't communicate with them, so I'm not very interested. Besides, I don't think they'll be able to reach this place even in 100 years, which makes it even less amusing to me, Gu Jin said, with a smile. Chapter 677. Starting today you are Gu Jin. Jianghu had expected senior brother Chen Chen's arrival, but he was surprised that Lu Xingqian was here. Upon closer inspection, it was clear that this wasn't the real Lu Xingqian. His aura was blood red, and he seemed to be using the blood pool's blood water to enhance his cultivation. This was most likely the blood demon's ability. So, the blood demon is here to restore itself? Jianghu guessed. Even from a distance, he could see that Lu Xingqian's cultivation realm was improving rapidly. To the 3 remnant souls, Lu Xingqian was too weak, and they were eager to boost their strength. He's just 1 step away from Soul Ascension realm. In a short time, Lu Xingqian had ascended from the Golden Core realm to the Soul Ascension realm. It should be because of the blood demon's method. This man has been possessed by the blood demon, Gu Jin said with a smile. Both of these individuals are unique, particularly the blood demon. He has been here for quite a while and seems very eager to enhance his cultivation realm. Do you think the blood demon's possession has been successful? Jianghu asked. This person's situation is very complex. Gu Jin thought for a moment. Not only is he possessed by the blood demon, but he also has the dragon and the sorcerer within him. What surprises me is that these 3 beings coexist in the same body without competing with each other. It's quite unusual. Jianghu was amazed by Gu Jin's insights. Do you think there's a chance of survival for someone possessed by these 3 entities? Why don't you tell me? Do you want to play a game with me? Gu Jin asked again. Before Jianghu could refuse, Gu Jin said, My presence here means that I'm blocking your way. If you want to proceed further, you'll need to defeat me. We have the same cultivation realm, so we'll fight on equal terms. If you win, you can continue forward and receive a gift from me. If you lose, you tell me how you came in. How about it? Jianghu looked at Gu Jin. He could assess Lu Xingqian's condition on his own. He needed to find senior brother Chen Chen as quickly as possible, and there was no need to waste time here unless Gu Jin could tell him how to reach senior brother Chen Chen. Is he the one you're looking for? Gu Jin asked as he looked towards senior brother Chen Chen. Is there any way, Senior, that I can get over there? Jianghu asked. There's no way. Gu Jin shook his head. At least not here. But if you go deeper, you might be able to use a secret technique to reach different places. Do you know this secret technique? I'd like to learn it. Do I really have to fight with you, Senior? Jianghu asked. Of course. Gu Jin nodded. Why do you want to fight me, Senior? Jianghu was curious. At that moment, a blood-red light emanated from Lu Xingqian as he advanced. Moreover, the blood water in the blood pool continued to flow into him. It was uncertain what realm he would ascend to next. On the other side, senior brother Chen Chen had finally arrived at the blood pool and was establishing a connection with it. Blood Wish Path? That's quite rare. This is the first time I've seen someone using Blood Wish Path to come here. Once integrated, it should be quite remarkable, Gu Jin said. He shifted his gaze back to Jianghu. It's been many years since I've seen people, and I don't think there are people who can enter and leave freely in this place. However, your condition is exceptionally strange, and I think you will be able to leave. So, I want to give you something, but I don't want to give it to a weakling. So, I want to fight you to see if you're capable. Why don't you leave, Senior? Jianghu asked. I can't. Gu Jin lowered his head and sighed. This place is a prison, and I am the warden guarding a prisoner. A prisoner? Jianghu was puzzled. Yes, my body is the prison. I am the guardian, and the prisoner is the evil within my heart, Gu Jin said. Jianghu looked at the man before him. Is there a way you can leave this place? Only if I understand the truth. I need to understand the truth of heaven and earth. What do you think the truth is? Gu Jin stared at Jianghu. Jianghu frowned. At that moment, blood-red light appeared again. It meant that Chen Chen was on the verge of success. Jianghu had no intention of delaying any further. His folding fan transformed into a long knife. Senior, please forgive me. Finally decided to make a move? Let me be clear. Although I've suppressed my cultivation realm, I'm not an ordinary person in the same realm as you. Don't claim later that I took advantage of you, Gu Jin said with a smile. Jianghu lowered his head and swung his long knife. Boom. The half-moon blade descended. Ding. A crisp sound rang out. A single finger had blocked the long knife. The strike was impressive. I almost couldn't block it, Gu Jin said with a smile. Rumble. Power surged from that single finger and pushed Jianghu back. However, he wasn't discouraged. He was shocked by the power contained within that single finger, as well as Gu Jin's incomprehensible control over it. This meant that Gu Jin's cultivation realm was astonishingly high. Under normal circumstances, it would be impossible to defeat such an opponent. Jianghu sheathted his half-moon blade. The primordial heavenly blade appeared in his hands. He felt strangely excited. As smiling San Sheng, it was always a treat to encounter a worthy opponent. Senior, get ready. He used the third form of the heavenly blade, Meteor. Jianghu transformed into a blade of light and charged straight at Gu Jin. This time Gu Jin frowned. If Jianghu was a fierce beast before, this time he was an ancient, powerful creature. He was much stronger than Gu Jin had expected. Boom. A single blow sent Gu Jin reeling backward. However, he quickly began to counterattack and Jianghu did the same. Rumble. For a moment, the two of them created a storm on the sea of blood. They would disappear and reappear in a blur. Jianghu was surrounded by radiant blade intent, while golden characters revolved around Gu Jin. The blade light collided with the golden light. Boom. The two of them were sent flying and a purple aura rapidly covered Jianghu. He launched another attack. The heavenly blade descended and forced Gu Jin back. Jianghu used the reappearance of the hidden spirit ability. The majestic aura surged around Jianghu and shot forward like a giant wave crashing toward Gu Jin. He then used the second form of the heavenly blade, mountain suppression. The giant wave of energy seemed to contain the weight of 10,000 mountains. The mountain sea seal appeared and blended with the force of 10,000 mountains. At that moment, the vast force, which was like a tidal wave, swept through the blood mist and shook the surroundings. The attack targeted Gu Jin. Gu Jin, who had initially believed he had a chance to win, froze in disbelief. Was this really someone in the middle stage of the return to Void Realm? Boom. The blade came to a halt right above Gu Jin's head, and a giant wave surged behind him without end. Senior, you've lost, Jianghu said. I know. You don't need to remind me. Gu Jin felt uneasy. He had originally thought that he could win as long as he put in enough effort. But who would have thought that he would be defeated after just a few strikes? So, will you give me the secret technique now? Jianghu extended his hand. Gu Jin raised his hand. The words Gu Jin appeared in the palm of his hand. Following that, the words floated toward Jianghu's hand. I'm giving you this. As long as I remain here, no one will dare to question your identity as Gu Jin. In the Astronomical Academy, only a few people will be above you. Quite interesting, isn't it? Jianghu looked surprised. What do you mean? Chapter 678, It's Too Late. What do you mean, senior? Jianghu asked as he looked at the thing in his hand. It must be some form of identity rune for the Astronomical Academy. Did that mean he had been recruited to the Astronomical Academy? Do you feel wronged for serving the Astronomical Academy? Gu Jin asked with a smile. I'm not capable, senior. Jianghu shook his head and sighed. Your greatness is beyond my reach and your knowledge is beyond comparison. Impersonating someone like that will surely bring disaster. Why make it difficult for me, senior? Gu Jin burst into laughter. He was surprised by the words he heard. Don't worry, even if you don't say anything, they won't dare to test you. And they might even misinterpret your words and derive real wisdom from them. It might even lead to breakthroughs. So, don't pay too much attention to it. I gave this to you just to bring some new shade to the Astronomical Academy. They haven't seen any changes there for a long time. Without change there is no growth. Gu Jin sighed. The path of cultivation is about understanding certain principles. The more you know, the easier it is to progress. That's why I never understood what the absolute truth was. Jianghu felt that there should be a way to remove Gu Jin's identity from his body, but for now he didn't think too much about it. Instead he asked for the secret technique. There is no secret technique. You'll understand as you go. Whether you can find the one you are looking for depends entirely on luck, Gu Jin said with a smile. Jianghu lowered his head and didn't ask any further questions. Instead he turned and walked further inside. The further you go, the more you'll endure, and what you see and hear will be mixed with the disasters of the era. A slight misstep can lead to being trapped in a cage. You should think carefully about it, Gu Jin said as a warning. Thank you for the warning, senior, Jianghu said without looking back. Time was running out. As Gu Jin watched Jianghu's receding back, he suddenly asked, What is your truth? Jianghu paused for a moment. The truth is under the heavenly blade and nothing more. Gu Jin was momentarily stunned. Then he smiled. Youth was a wonderful thing. Watching the figure continue on its path, he asked, How old are you? Jianghu didn't pause this time and Gu Jin didn't mind. I touched you during the exchange. So, I know your appearance is fake. I can vaguely guess your real age from your vitality. If my guess is correct, you are somewhere between 30 and 40 years old. Is that correct? Jianghu stopped and turned to look at the man behind him with a smile. Senior, aren't you going to ask for my name? I won't ask. Gu Jin shook his head and smiled. Because whatever I hear will be a lie. Jianghu chuckled and shook his head. Then he continued on his way. Gu Jin watched Jianghu and his eyes lit up with enthusiasm. A return to Void Realm cultivator in his 30s, with an incredibly powerful strength. Even his mental state is extraordinary. Only a few have such talent. I've done my best to tie him to the academy. Whether the academy can hold on to him in the end will depend on their fate. From the moment he saw Jianghu, he had planned everything. He was so young. The person might be extraordinary to be able to enter this place so easily. His cultivation technique was indeed unusual. Gu Jin slowly closed his eyes. He had done everything he could for the academy. Now he could focus on the battle against the blood pool. Jianghu walked on the surface of the blood pool. He remained vigilant about the changes in his surroundings. As he went deeper, he could feel something affecting him. He even heard miserable cries and pleas for mercy. After the voices appeared, some images began to emerge. Many people were being captured, and blood was converging from all directions. This was the bloodshed caused by man-made conflicts. Soon, he also heard curses, each one falling on his ears and manifesting upon him. But in an instant, the curses formed and then began to disintegrate. Jianghu was astonished. It was this powerful. As the curses appeared, he took out the pearl. Instantly, the curses disappeared. And the illusions and sounds vanished with them. It was the heavenly fate misfortune pearl capable of suppressing all curses. When he took out the heavenly fate misfortune pearl, he felt that the entire blood pool seemed to react strangely. It seemed to be keeping its distance from him. It seems that the heavenly fate misfortune pearl has a restraining effect on the blood pool. So, where is Senior Qianqin? Jianghu looked to the left and the right. Logically, Senior Qianqin should be on the left, but his exact location was unclear. For now he could only head toward the center. The further he went in, the thinner the fog became and the more he could see and hear. There was the sound of the wind. Then he heard a faint conversation. You can't continue like this. This body is suitable, but introducing this blood will destroy its inherent value. The voice was low but familiar. Jianghu recognized it immediately. It was Lu Xingqian. Is he nearby? Jianghu looked to the right but saw no one. Don't worry. The blood here contains the power of many strong cultivators, and I can filter out the harmful things. I can even advance 2 minor realms. There won't be any issues. If the filtering is good enough, I can use my true dragon power to temper this body and raise it by 2 minor realms. At that point, give me the blood and I can use witchcraft to enter the return to void realm. After that, I'll go find the essence of plants and trees, and I can continue to improve. Good. Let's raise this body to a sufficiently high realm as soon as possible. It will help us deal with problems better. Jianghu was surprised. It was the same voice but with different tones. It sounded like 3 people talking to each other with the same voice. Is it the blood demon, the true dragon, and the sorcerer? Jianghu immediately thought of the 3 remnant souls. For now, their top priority was to raise Lu Xingqian's cultivation realm. According to what they said, they needed to ascend to the return to void realm inside the blood pool before leaving. After that, they would continue advancing elsewhere. Following this path of advancement, Jianghu felt that he might be surpassed soon. But wouldn't such rapid advancement have any negative consequences? It was too fast. He could only observe and act accordingly the next time he encountered Lu Xingqian. It made him feel anxious. He couldn't afford to be overtaken. Lowering his gaze to the blood pool, Jianghu sighed. Whether it was Senior Qianqin or the blood demon, they were both using the blood pool to enhance their cultivation realms, and he seemed to have no idea how to utilize it. Although he felt regretful, he didn't mind. He already had enough opportunities. He didn't need these and wouldn't push for them. At that moment, a voice sounded from the side. It was Senior Qianqin. I didn't expect the blood pool to exceed my expectations, but it's fortunate that I've established some connection. This should be enough. It's time to live. Success or failure hinges on this moment. Jianghu sighed inwardly. Time was running out. At the same time, outside Devil's Den, some people gathered together. They had captured many fellow disciples and were now entering Devil's Denver. We haven't found Jianghu from the Cliff of Broken Hearts. It looks like Senior Qianqin will have to take matters into his own hands. Let's put that aside for now. Our senior should have succeeded by now. This is the final step. Let's go. We have no way back now. We must assist Senior in successfully establishing the blood wish alchemical path before the sect reacts. This time we have to play our part. Chapter 679. Do you regret it? Jianghu stood on the blood pool and looked in the direction where he heard Qianqian's voice. He couldn't help but sigh. The other person had completed the task, which meant his plan had failed. It's time to leave. It seems we can't wait for the task to be completed. Under normal circumstances, these people would surely wait for the mission to be completed. However, these were not normal times. Qianqin had chosen a path that was in opposition to the Heavenly Note sect, and the sooner he completed it, the better. Jianghu looked at the blood pool and sighed. He thought of going inside to see if there was a way to find Senior Qianqin, as he seemed to have a certain connection with the blood pool. As he walked further inside, Jianghu felt that the blood pool became clearer. The changes were suppressed by the heavenly fate misfortune pearl. After about an hour, Jianghu felt ripples in the blood beneath his feet, like a tide rising and falling. This change puzzled him because it had remained still before. After making sure that his golden ring was activated, he walked toward the source of these ripples. The deeper he went, the larger the ripples became. Jianghu looked deeper and felt something eerie. Where he stood, the blood pool was covered in a blood-red hue, while the area beyond the ripples seemed to lack the crimson color. It appeared gray in an overcast sky. This meant that he was approaching the source. Jianghu recognized the large green sphere in the sky. It was the Earth Extreme Silent Pearl that the end of all things was after. I didn't expect it to be here, and it seems to be trying to absorb the blood pool, he muttered. What puzzled him was why the Earth Extreme Silent Pearl couldn't absorb the blood sea. Logically, it should absorb flesh and blood. The fact that the blood pool remained relatively unaffected was strange. Jianghu turned back. The Earth Extreme Silent Pearl was probably in a sealed state, but it would be best to keep a distance from it. During his observation, he glanced down to the edge of the blood pool and saw that it extended down for hundreds of feet. This was no longer a pool. It was a blood sea. I found the Earth Extreme Silent Pearl, but this was not good because once the end of all things found it, the Heavenly Note sect would become the center of a storm. He might be in danger. I need to find a way to contact someone from either Bright Moon sect or Clear Sky School and urge them to take it away. These two sects were reliable. The only concern was whether they would destroy the Heavenly Note sect to ensure the safety of the Earth Extreme Silent Pearl. The probability of that happening was quite high. Jianghu sighed. If that were the case, going there would be akin to asking for disaster. He needed to find a way to obtain the pearl before the end of all things and give it to Xing for safekeeping. However, obtaining it was not an easy task. The real entrance was definitely not here. I should ask Hong Yuya about it when I get back. Jianghu began searching the area to see if he could sense the connection between the blood pool and others. Suddenly he stopped in his tracks. He realized that he had been in the blood pool all along. It was difficult for him to sense connections with the blood pool. To do that, he needed to enter the blood pool. Jianghu didn't hesitate. He held the Heavenly Fate Misfortune Pearl and entered the blood pool. As soon as he entered, he felt the blood water transmitting information and merging with him. This was due to the Heavenly Fate Misfortune Pearl. In just a few breaths, Jianghu sensed 3 connections related to the blood pool. One was weak. It was likely Senior Qianqin. One had a strong presence. That must be Lu Xingqian, who was controlled by the blood demon. The last one felt vast and close. It was likely Gu Jin. With that confirmed, Jianghu left the blood pool and quickly headed towards Senior Qianqian's location. Entering the blood pool had changed his perception of the surroundings, and he could even influence the blood pool's changes. It seemed that he was gradually gaining control over the blood pool. In Devil's Den, a group of people in black robes had captured many disciples, and these captives were looking at the black-robed individuals in surprise. "Are you all insane?" A disciple at the late stage of Foundation Establishment Realm shouted angrily. "Senior brother Su Feng, there's no need to struggle. We brought you here and we've thought about the consequences," said a black-robed woman calmly. They were currently standing in front of a forest and waiting for someone to come out. "Senior sister Liang Yu, are you trying to destroy everything, including yourselves?" Jiang asked. He was unwilling to accept what was happening. They had never expected that their senior sister, who had always been close to them, would actually turn against them. She even claimed she needed them for a sacrifice. "Junior brother Qi Yang, given the current situation, there's no need for more words. You don't understand us," Liang Yu said. "Do you remember Jianghu? Your friend from the outer sect?" "I remember," Qi Yang said. "We intended to capture him this time. He is truly exceptional and ranks at the top with remarkable achievements, and his rapid cultivation progress is astonishing. At such a young age he has already reached the middle stage of the Golden Core realm, and we need such a genius," Liang Yu said with a sigh. Both Su Feng and Qi Yang were taken aback. They remained silent. Naturally, they had been keeping an eye on Jianghu's progress, even though they didn't discuss it openly. "It seems like you do regret it. Who would have thought that the person everyone tried to ignore like the plague back then would now be on an important journey? We can only look up to him," Liang Yu said with a wry smile. "Fortunately, I met senior brother Qianqin. Otherwise I might have just died somewhere." At that moment, a streak of blood-red light appeared, and Liang Yu breathed a sigh of relief. "Senior brother Qianqin is here." Chapter 680, Sworn to Protect Senior Qianqin. Once Jianghu sensed the presence of senior brother Qianqin, he quickly chased after him. Unlike others, he was not affected by the blood pool. He moved faster than usual. The blood pool actively cooperated with him. This made Jianghu suspect a connection between the Heavenly Fate Misfortune Pearl and the blood pool. It was not merely one-sided like he expected. He couldn't find an exact answer to this mystery, and he didn't have time to think about it right now. After some time he finally caught up with senior brother Qianqin. He had left the blood pool, and it appeared that he was returning to Devil's Denver. When he looked back, all he saw was endless blood mist, as if it was a seal covering the blood pool from below. As for why the blood pool had a connection to the heavenly fate misfortune pearl, he couldn't come to any conclusions. Maybe even someone like Gu Jin didn't know. Next time he might have a chance to ask him. If he could fully control the blood pool, it might be possible to let senior brother Qian Chen go, but he didn't dare to attempt something like that. People changed. Even if he didn't mean any harm right now, he might not be so forthcoming next time. When Qi Tian was in despair, he genuinely wanted to sacrifice his life. He was willing to risk it all. However, after Jianghu fulfilled his revenge, he was not willing to cooperate at all. Qi Tian was weak, so Jianghu didn't need to worry about him. But Gu Jin was different. He was very powerful. He couldn't be reckless. After some thought, Jianghu noticed that the blood mist was beginning to dissipate. He found himself standing in a forest surrounded by blood-red clouds. Boom. A deafening explosion rang out, and a mist of blood filled the air. "You won't get away with killing your fellow disciples like this," said Qiyang furiously. "I know you've been wronged, but the path I need to take requires me to do this," Qian Chen said with regret. "I didn't want to lay a hand on you, but forging a new path always demands sacrifice. It's human nature. You and I are just a part of the big picture. I can't stop now. We've worked hard for so many years and hidden for so long. It was all for today, and no one can stop us from succeeding." "No one can stop us," said a group of black-robed individuals loudly. "You're insane. All of you are insane. This is the blood wish path. Senior sister Liang Yu, you've fallen into a trap." Qiyang roared. "I know. I've always known that this is the blood wish path and I willingly embraced it. Senior brother Qian Chen never forced me," Liang Yu said seriously. "You've been corrupted," Qiyang said insistently. "Enough. She won't listen to us," Su Feng said. From a distance, Jianghu watched this unfold. His gaze was fixed on Qiyang. "It's been so many years," he murmured silently. Qiyang had been his friend in the outer sect, but they had grown distant over the years. They hadn't seen each other in over a decade. He hadn't avoided him, nor had he made any special efforts to find him. The sect was vast and they didn't run into each other. Meanwhile, outside in the forest, Qian Chen sat cross-legged and meditated. He was surrounded by blood. A few blood gourds beside him oozed blood. The blood encircled him and gradually merged with one another. Jianghu knew that Qian Chen had begun the process, and he intended to complete it. "Qiyang, it's your turn." Liang Yu brought Qiyang closer to Qian Chen. "Senior sister, you won't get away with this." Qiyang roared. "You don't need to worry about that," she said and struck out with her palm. Bam. As her palm descended, a blade of light swept through and severed Liang Yu's arm. Blood gushed out. Everyone was shocked. A mocking laughter echoed all around. "I've seen something quite interesting here." "Who is it?" Liang Yu and the others looked around warily. "Who is this?" The laughter sounded from all directions. "Lift your heads and look up at the sky. I'm right here." They looked up and saw a figure standing in midair. He was holding a long blade in the dazzling sunlight. The blade light whizzed down. Boom. The group was pushed back, but no one was harmed. A figure with a large shield blocked the attack. Oh. Jianghu was surprised. There were indeed powerful individuals here. A man in the early stage of the return to Void Realm stood before the group. "Fellow disciple, please don't meddle in our affairs." He wore a black robe and his aura was restrained. His return to Void Realm's aura gradually manifested. Jianghu found it hard to believe that such a powerful individual was influenced by Qian Chen. "Don't let him get close. Don't let him disrupt Senior Qian Chen's plan," said the return to Void Realm cultivator. At this moment, formations appeared around them and storms formed. It provided both defense and offense. Dozens of powerful individuals around them jointly maintained the formation. "Fellow disciple, we have a formation and our cultivation realm isn't weak. Why do you want to challenge us? What do you want? Can't you just go your ways?" Sini man asked ya. Jianghu pointed at Qian Chen. "Can I have him?" "No," said all the black-robed individuals. Their auras surged. "In that case I won't hold back," Jianghu said. He didn't intend to waste words with these people. He moved through the air. His blade's killing intent spread. Boom. The blade intent collided with the formation. Crack. The formation shattered. With the long blade in hand, he continued forward. He used the first form of the heavenly blade, Moonslaying. The individuals maintaining the formation were pushed back, and Jianghu went straight for the large shield. Boom. The moonlight penetrated the shield, which broke with a crack. The defense artifact was obliterated. The man was also sent flying. At that moment, Qianqin stood before them. The moonslaying technique continued to descend on them. Just as it was about to strike Qianqin, senior sister Liang Yu shielded him by throwing herself in front of him. She took the full force of the attack. Jianghu looked at her in surprise. Why are you doing this? Don't you dare disturb senior brother Qianqin, Liang Yu said as she spit out blood. Jianghu looked at her. Do you know that he intends to sacrifice you too? After he is done with others, it'll be your turn. No. I don't care. Liang Yu roared and struck out with her palm. Boom. Jianghu retreated. At the moment he retreated, everyone shielded Qianqin and they confronted Jianghu. We pledge to protect senior brother Qianqin with our lives, the Return to Void Realm cultivator shouted. You'll have to kill us first if you want to harm him, someone else said. Jianghu looked at them and laughed. Then he waved his hand and sent the remaining disciples flying backward. They all fainted with the impact. Qiyang was among them. Since that's the case, I'll do you a favor and let you die at the hands of your senior brother Qianqin, Jianghu said with a smile. Just as they felt relieved, Jianghu said, and then I will kill your senior brother Qianqin to avenge you. How about that? Aren't I being good to you? Haha. Chapter 681. It's you. You hid yourself very well. Why do you insist on targeting senior brother Qianqin? Asked the man with the large shield. Why? Jianghu chuckled. Because it amuses me. The group of people were speechless. Don't you think you're taking this too far? Why are you targeting us? We didn't do anything to offend you, someone said. Jianghu couldn't help but laugh. He pointed to the disciples who had fainted. What about them? Did they offend you? Why were you planning to kill them? It's their good fortune to pave the way for senior Qianqin's path. Not everyone has that privilege, someone said. I see. Such an honor indeed, said Jianghu. Just when they thought Jianghu understood, they suddenly saw a beam of moonlight. Whoosh. The person who had just spoken had their head separated from their body. At that moment, Jianghu slowly lowered his sword. Well, I've been studying the heavenly blade lately. It's your supreme honor to be my test subject. Jianghu looked at the others. You all agree with me, right? The crowd looked at each other. They were afraid to speak. Do you not agree with me? Jianghu waved his sword again. Whoosh. Another person's head was severed from their body. The blood was incinerated. Qianqin didn't have a chance to absorb it. I agree, someone said. Jianghu smiled. That's more like it. Friend, why argue with us here? The Heavenly Note sect is under attack. Many are being called to defend it. There are plenty of opportunities outside for someone of your cultivation realm. The man in the Foundation establishment realm tried to persuade him. Why not go out of the sect and take a look? Jianghu's heart skipped a beat. Someone is attacking the Heavenly Note sect. I can't stay here for long. If a fight breaks out, it will create problems at the Spirit Herb Garden. Jianghu was about to make his move. However, someone acted before him. At that moment, Qianqin stood up in the midst of the blood. He was surrounded by countless rivers of blood. In an instant, these rivers of blood surged and pierced through the black-robed figures. The black-robed people turned to look at Qianqin in surprise. One of them shouted, Senior, you must succeed. The man in the Foundation establishment realm whispered, I truly wanted to join you, Senior, in founding a sect. Qianqin looked at them with emotion. He felt sad to do this. He wanted to let go of the blood rivers in his hands. Let's do it, said the Foundation establishment realm cultivator. We've come so far, we can't give up now. We can't fail. Qianqin looked at the others. In the end, his face darkened. I'm sorry. Then he started to extract the blood from the disciples. This left a bloodstone monument in front of him. It bore many names. Jia Xing from the Candlelight Pill Pavilion and Dong Lu from the Ice Moon Valley were two names visible. Dozens of names were engraved on the monument. Although I can't take you with me to create a sect, I will succeed and leave your names to be remembered for eternity. These people watched as their blood was absorbed by Qianqin. They dedicated themselves to this great cause without any resentment. Jianghu observed from a distance as he saw Qianqin absorb the blood and merge it with other blood. The names continued to appear. When all the black-robed people fell, the process of blood fusion neared its end. However, it was still missing something. At that moment, Qianxin looked at Jianghu. Do we have a grudge against? Perhaps, Jianghu said casually. Qianxin lowered his head. Actually, I'm lacking one more blood vow. Do you want me to help you? Jianghu asked. Qianxin shook his head. No, because you're not my blood vow. Then is it going to fail? Jianghu asked. No, it can't fail. Qianxin shook his head. May I know who you really are? For you to enter the Heavenly Note sect so openly, you must not be your true self. Jianghu looked at the person in front of him and smiled. He activated the Heavenly Cauldron and also the Mountain Sea Seal. Jianghu put down the fan and his appearance changed. Senior brother Qianxin, it's been too long, Jianghu said softly. He looked calm and indifferent. Qianxin was momentarily stunned, but then he felt relieved. It's you? You hid yourself so well. Do you think I am part of the Blood Wish path? Jianghu asked. He hadn't received an answer before, but now he could ask. You knew why I was looking for you back then? Qianxin was surprised. Jianghu nodded. Yes, that is why I came to find you. I see, Qianxin said. A change of mind can make a world of difference. Then he shook his head. Junior brother, you are not part of the Blood Wish. Why? Jianghu asked curiously. Profound practitioners of the Blood Wish path are impossible to discern, but you are indeed not one who practices Blood Wish path. It's just my intuition. Is there anything else you want to say, senior? The heavenly sword appeared in Jianghu's hand. From the moment he restored his appearance, he had decided that he would kill this person. Just one last reminder. Within the sect, there are people paying attention to the Blood Wish path, and you may have caught their eye, Qianxin said as a warning. I know. They're the Saint Bandits, said Jianghu. Qianxin was surprised, but he didn't say anything. He looked at the blood around him. I'm only one person away from success. I cannot fail, so... Blood started to ooze from Qianxin's body. Since they trusted me this much, how can I let them down? I promise to leave their names to be remembered for eternity, and I am the best practitioner of the Blood Wish path here. Jianghu was ready to take action. He noticed that Qianxin's vitality was dissipating. However, the blood had completely merged together, and the earth was flowing with it. In this state, it seemed as though Qianxin had gained some sort of enlightenment. He began inscribing characters on a bloodstone monument created from the merged blood. The faster he wrote, the more blood he consumed, and the thicker the aura of death became. Jianghu watched without intervening. After a long time, Qianxin made the final stroke and he laughed. It's done. It's really possible. I've been preparing for hundreds of years for this. I prepared for this moment when I first joined the Heavenly Note sect. Finally, I've accomplished it. Congratulations, senior, Jianghu said as he looked at Qianxin. His vitality was about to fade away. Qianxin looked at the stone monument and wrote down his name. Qianxin of the Candlelight Pill Pavilion. He then looked at Jianghu. This is the best ending for me. Even if I were to live, I wouldn't escape very far. The Heavenly Note sect may lack in other aspects, but it doesn't fall short in bearing grudges. They would still find ways to kill me even if I flee to another sect, since I've killed so many of the sect's disciples. Chapter 682, Forced to Leave the Sect. Jianghu was well aware of the grudge against the Heavenly Note sect. He had waited in front of other sects for many years to find traitors. Someone like Qianxin, even if he hid in the Immortal sect, the sect would probably find a way to send someone in to kill him. They would find him even if it meant using the Heavenly Essence Soul modeling mirror. There was no escape for him. With such a divine artifact, there was nowhere to hide. So what was the point? Junior brother, you wouldn't understand. Creating a new alchemical path is an extraordinary achievement. Qianxin smiled. You've come to the wrong sect then, Jianghu said. Qianxin could escape to another sect and he didn't intend to die there. At least he wouldn't be relentlessly pursued. No other sect can compare to the Heavenly Note sect. Besides, they don't have the blood pool. At the final moment, the fusion of the blood pool is necessary to determine my path. If I have time and enough blood, I will merge the power within the blood pool. Then my strength will skyrocket. Maybe I can try to resist, escape from here, go to a distant place, live a few years of the life I've always wanted, and try my own alchemical path. At the very least, I want my path to be known throughout the world. But I know you won't let me do that, junior brother, said Chen Chen. He didn't have enough blood. It just happened that Jianghu had killed 2 people and burned their fresh blood. But that was how he had managed to survive until the end. Otherwise, the person in front of him would have already taken action. Jianghu fell silent for a moment. Was there an attack on the Heavenly Note sect because of you? Yes, Chen Chen said. I provided information about the vulnerabilities within the Heavenly Note sect to the Heavenly Saint sect and the Blood Shadow sect, as well as the Sunset Immortal sect. They might take action, or at least they can contain the sect. This will give me more time. Jianghu lowered his head. The Heavenly Saint sect and the Sunset Immortal sect both had a beef with him. If the sect were to lose, it would be disastrous for him, especially during these past few days when those who had gone to the Black Heaven sect hadn't returned yet. The sect was very vulnerable right now. Senior brother, you are truly far-sighted, Jianghu said. What are your plans for this alchemical path? I want to leave it to a few selected individuals from the Candlelight Pill Pavilion, Chen Chen said. Do you have spirit stones with you? Jianghu asked. I have some alchemical pills and herbs in my residence, which require certain techniques to enter, said Elon Nen. Good. Jianghu nodded. He asked for the list of names. Chen Chen gave it to him and disappeared completely. He felt some relief as well as regret. For the sake of safety, Jianghu unleashed his power and erased his tracks. Even the stone tablet was incinerated, but he remembered its contents. He also re-engraved the stone tablet and added the names and a brief explanation about their origins. This way there will be no mistakes. After ensuring there were no hidden threats, Jianghu approached Qi Yang and the others. He looked at their storage treasures and then disappeared from the spot. These people were only at the Foundation Establishment realm and very few spirit stones. It was better to check Chen Chen's residence to get more spirit stones. If he got them, he would help with the tasks. If not, so be it. When Jianghu reappeared, he was in a wooden house. It was now the second day. The spirit beast was not in the courtyard, and Jianghu noticed that the peach tree had blossomed. After watering the heavenly fragrance Dao flower, he made his way to the spirit herb garden. When he arrived, he saw disciples from the law enforcement hall. All cultivators above the Golden Core realm are to proceed outside the sect to provide support. Jianghu had just arrived. The disciples saw him and sent some communication talismans flying toward him. Junior brother, you now have temporary permission to go outside. The sect is in dire need of your assistance during this crisis. Jianghu received the talisman. It was hard for him to believe that the sect had reached such a state. However, the fact that it hadn't been breached yet indicated that the attack wasn't as fierce as he had imagined. Understood. He couldn't refuse, but he managed to stall for some time. He told them he needed to prepare some things. When he returned to his residence, he left behind a second teleportation formation. Since the previous one had been used, he wouldn't be able to return if he encountered any danger today. After taking care of these matters, he went outside the sect and began gathering with other disciples of the sect. In cases like these, those with a high cultivation realm automatically assume leadership roles. Jianghu, at the middle stage of the Golden Core middle realm, was among quite a few juniors. As he watched people gathering, Jianghu couldn't help but sigh at how well Chen Chen had chosen his timing. There were hardly any people paying attention to other matters at the moment. However, he had orchestrated this. It was indeed remarkable. It was a crazy idea but was done very meticulously. It was a pity that his opponent had underestimated one aspect. Otherwise, the plan might have actually succeeded. Which branch are you from? Asked a primordial spirit realm cultivator. I'm Jianghu from the Cliff of Broken Hearts, said Jianghu. Middle stage of the Golden Core realm? You'll team up with junior brother Yu and others to investigate the surrounding areas, said the primordial spirit realm senior. Jianghu made his way to junior brother Yu's team. The team was led by a cultivator at the late stage of the Golden Core realm. It was a group of 5 people with 3 men and 2 women. Juniors, follow me, Yu Dehong said politely. Jianghu and the others nodded in agreement. Their senior appeared to be around 28 years old, and he had a solid cultivation in the late stage of the Golden Core realm. He had experienced life and death situations and was a reliable leader. Remember, if you encounter any issues, escape and wait to regroup, said Yu Dehong kindly. We are currently on patrol. If we see anyone being hostile, it means the attackers plan an ambush. There is no need to stay and die there. Just regroup and report your findings. If you discover anything, Leave immediately and avoid stirring up trouble. Senior brother, are you being too lenient? A young man asked. If it's possible, we could totally stay and take them down to gather more information. Indeed, as cultivators we should fight, said a short-haired woman. Jianghu looked at them. They were all in the Golden Core realm and their auras were quite powerful. It meant that they had good talent. They also possessed remarkable magical treasures, and their status and positions were quite high in the sect. Yu Dehong felt somewhat embarrassed. Juniors, you have some good insights, but we are ultimately on patrol. Our main duty is to do our job properly, rather than get caught in the fray. The other two didn't say much, but their disdain was evident. Jianghu looked at the other cultivator, who was a woman. She was in the early stage of the Golden Core realm. She looked nervous and kept glancing at the other seniors beside her. Jianghu sighed quietly. He realized that this team was quite disorganized. It was no wonder they were only given patrol duties. However, even on patrol he was worried about leaving the sect. After all, quite a few people were keeping an eye on him, and they could show up at any moment. But the distant explosion of power distracted him. In front of the sect, powerful cultivators constantly engaged in battle. The storm caused by the erupting power never seemed to cease. This was the main battlefield between the two sides. Let's hope nothing dangerous happens, Jianghu thought to himself. Chapter 683, Forced to Take Action. On the first day of their patrol, there were no problems. The absence of disciples from the Heavenly Joy Pavilion in their group put Jianghu at ease. Otherwise, he would need to remain vigilant at all times, which was quite troublesome. However, it wouldn't take long for others to find out that he was outside the sect. Someone was bound to come looking for him. The influence left behind by senior brother Chen was even greater than he had expected. He had thought that killing senior brother Chen would resolve the issues, but it turned out that killing him would have been in vain. I can take the first watch, Jianghu said. The others had no objections. So, Jianghu moved to a more remote location while the rest of the team meditated in hiding. They didn't light a fire to avoid being detected. Suddenly, a light appeared. It emanated from the short-haired woman. Jianghu frowned because this place was outside the sect. The light could compromise their location. Once someone notices it, they might approach their group. Jianghu walked to her, and Yu Dehong followed suit. Junior sister, may I ask why there is such a conspicuous light here? Yu Dehong asked. The woman was from the Ice Moon Valley, and she was fairly young. It's my magical treasure. It helps me enter a state of meditation and enhances my cultivation, Shimenling said. Is that the cleansing dust bell? I've heard that it can indeed enhance your cultivation, but you should be able to conceal the light. Have you tried that? After all, the light is too conspicuous. If someone notices it, they might approach us and put us at risk. It would also disturb your meditation, said Yu Dehong kindly. Jianghu could tell that the main purpose of this treasure was the emitted light, which also had functions like warding off insects and dust, as well as creating a pleasant fragrance. Its effect on meditation was minimal. Shimenling glanced at Yu Dehong. With a reluctant nod, she put the magical treasure away. Jianghu stepped back and returned to his original position to keep watch. During the midnight shift, Yu Dehong took over the watch. Senior brother. Thank you, junior brother, you've worked hard. Yu Dehong felt helpless. I hope you don't overthink this, junior brother. We are all fellow sect members, and it's normal to have differences due to our different backgrounds. I understand, and I admire you for being so patient, senior brother, Jianghu said politely. He could tell that this senior had some unique abilities. We may have to be on this mission for several more days, so be careful, junior brother, Yu Dehong said to him. Jianghu nodded. After that, he returned to the group. As soon as he arrived, he saw Shimenling take out a sachet. While the fragrance was faint, it was still distinctive. Jianghu glanced at Yu Dehong. He had noticed it too. This time, Yu Dehong didn't say anything but set up a barrier to prevent the scent from spreading, which resolved the issue. Jianghu had to admit that if someone else led this team, it might have already led to conflicts. It wasn't easy to manage people in such circumstances. If Yu Dehong had been prideful with a powerful technique, it would have been an entirely different story. The night went by peacefully. During this time, Jianghu had gathered some information about his companions. Yu Dehong was from the Flowing Waterfall. Shimenling was from the Ice Moon Valley. Lu Wen was from the Thunder Fire Peak. Ning Shuang was from the Misty Cloud Peak. Let's go. This time we will be investigating the western area. It's difficult to communicate with other sect members in this area, so we must be very careful, Yu Dehong said. Jianghu saw that Shimin Ling and Lu Wen seemed somewhat disdainful of this senior's approach. If anything happens, it'll be because of these two. Jianghu didn't underestimate Ning Shuang either. She appeared obedient and meek, but no one knew what she might be thinking. Last night he had appraised Yu Dehong and found no issues with him. He was a decent senior. He hadn't appraised the other three. He wanted to save his ability in case they ran into some other danger. The daily appraisal ability always came in handy, so he couldn't waste it. After waiting for some time, Jianghu frowned. He waited a bit longer. Senior brother Yu. Yu Dehong's heart sank as he looked at Jianghu. Jianghu pointed to the left. After a careful scan, Yu Dehong did indeed sense something. He then looked at Jianghu in surprise. Jianghu had sensed it even earlier than he had. Soon after, a figure entered their line of sight. Peak of Foundation Establishment Realm? Lu Wen exclaimed. It appeared that the person was middle-aged, with torn clothes and some injuries. It seemed like they had fled to this location. We can capture this person and see if they have any information, Shimin Ling said. Wait. This person is a bit unusual. You should know that this route is close to the sect, so why would anyone take this path? Why would they do it in such a noticeable way? There's a possibility that he's leading us into a trap. We should observe first. Be cautious and suppress your auras, Yu Dehong said. Jianghu nodded in agreement. He could see that the person seemed to be at the peak of the Foundation Establishment Realm but was really at the late stage of the Golden Core Realm. What do you all think? Lu Wen looked at Jianghu and Ning Shuang. I think senior brother Yu's assessment is correct. This person must be concealing their true cultivation realm, Jianghu said. Ning Shuang looked around. I agree. Let's listen to senior brother Yu. Since Jianghu and Ning Shuang both agreed with senior brother Yu's suggestion, the other two had no choice. In the afternoon, Jianghu and the others kept their eyes on the stranger. The person leaned against a rock. When he saw no one around, he removed his defensive robe and began inspecting his injuries. He even set his magical treasures aside. Lu Wen and Shimin Ling didn't hesitate. Even if the person had concealed their cultivation realm, they believed that at such a close range they could successfully ambush him. Yu Dehong tried to intervene, but it was too late. Jianghu had a bad feeling about this. Lu Wen and Shimin Ling's swords quickly closed in on the Foundation Establishment cultivator's back. Just as they thought they were about to succeed, the person turned around and smiled. I finally see you. At the same time, his aura rapidly ascended to the late stage of the Golden Core Realm. Late stage. The two attackers tried to retreat, but it was too late. Even Yu Dehong was astonished. Jummer Brotner Jlang and Jummer Sister Ning, UB0 Tian run and nide. I'll try my best to stop him. If I can't handle it, I'll try to catch up with you later, said Yu Dehong and rushed forward to provide support. With one cultivator at the late stage of the Golden Core Realm and two at the middle stage, they should have been able to handle one opponent at the late stage, but Jianghu looked into the distance. Just as he had expected, it was an ambush. Other people were coming to assist the enemy. Should they flee or not? The two at the middle stage of the Golden Core Realm weren't worth saving, but he felt that senior brother Yu was decent. With a sigh, Jianghu gave up on escaping. He took a step forward. He used the 1,000 demonic tones technique. At that moment, the Golden Core cultivator's palm struck Lu Wen and Shimin Ling. Boom. A powerful force struck them and injured them severely. Fortunately, at the critical moment, Yu Dehong appeared to engage in the fight. When he saw an opening, he launched a lethal attack. As long as he came into contact with the opponent's defense, he could quickly close in for direct combat. However, the opponent seemed to have seen through his plan and dispersed his defense. He narrowly avoided the attack. Yu Dehong thought that this opponent was highly skilled and had great courage. It was impressive that this person had dared to disperse their defenses. But just as the opponent felt that he could win, he heard a voice devoid of emotion. Demonic sound slash. Boom. The demon sound surged, and then, a long sword appeared near the Golden Core cultivator's neck. It moved with the speed of thunder and severed his neck. Swish. It was quick, precise and ruthless. Yu Dehong and the others watched as the enemy's head separated from his body, and Jianghu's figure came into view. He held the long sword and appeared aloof. The scene sent shivers down their spines. Jianghu ignored the golden core opponent and turned to look at them. Go quickly. Maybe you can still make it. It was too late now. Their reinforcements were arriving. After taking their storage treasure, Jianghu immediately left. Yu Dehong also rushed ahead with his team. Jianghu had sensed the danger faster than any of them. So, if he said there was more danger, no one disputed it. However, the sword strike just now was so stunning that it remained etched in their minds for a long time. The person before them seemed even more remarkable than they had anticipated. Chapter 684. Meeting the Master of the Heavenly Joy Pavilion. This way, Jianghu said as he led the way. Yu Dehong and the others followed him. Jianghu was the most perceptive, so they had to let him lead. However, the constant change of direction made it difficult for those behind him, especially the injured Ximenling and Lu Wen. Ning Shuang, at the early stage of the Golden Core realm, also struggled to keep up. Fortunately, Yu Dehong helped her, or she would have fallen behind. Jianghu was unusually fast for someone in the middle stage of the Golden Core realm. Many people could use the 1000 demonic tone to a certain extent, but no one else could use it like this. They never thought that the technique could be this powerful. Jianghu didn't slow down. He continued to move quickly and change directions constantly. Why are we taking such a roundabout way? Ximenling asked. If we don't, they'll catch up, Jianghu said. But we haven't found anything. Are you just trying to drag this out because of your newfound fame? Ximenling asked coldly. She wasn't the only one thinking this way. I also checked. There's no need to take such a roundabout way. We can return to the sect. Are you doing this to show off? I remember you used to boast about your accomplishments. Is this your way of achieving them? Said Lu Wen. Jianghu glanced at them but did not say anything. Got nothing to say? Ximenling said. If that's the case, you might as well go on your own. We can find our own way back. Then we'll split up, Yu Dehong said. Jianghu didn't stop for even a moment and continued moving forward. There were indeed stronger pursuers behind them, and he needed to lead his group to safety. It was a bit complicated but not impossible since the pursuers had not detected their presence yet. Ximenling and Lu Wen, who were left behind, were somewhat worried, but they relaxed when they didn't run into trouble. It looks like there aren't any problems, Ximenling said. We can go back. We'll leave immediately when they arrive, Lu Wen said. As they were about to leave on their flying swords, some figures suddenly appeared in the vicinity. I thought it was a trap, but it seems like it's not, an elderly man said. Just in time. We can't use these two to find others. The power of the peak of the Golden Core realm and the early stage of the Primordial Spirit realm oppressed the two. In the face of these formidable individuals, Lu Wen and Ximenling trembled in fear. They couldn't even move. Please? We're just... Someone slapped Ximenling and sent her flying. Did I ask you to speak yet? The two were silenced. They were overwhelmed by fear. Meanwhile, Jianghu suddenly stopped. He sighed. Senior brother Yu, you'll have to fend for yourself. Yu Dehong was stunned. Then he understood what Jianghu meant. Of course, junior brother, you've done your best. If you can escape, please do. He said with a smile. Jianghu lowered his head. He hadn't expected that leaving the two behind would compromise their location. Now, the range of his abilities was not sufficient to take everyone with him. It wasn't long before many people appeared in the vicinity. There were 2 people at the late stage and peak of the Golden Core realm, and 2 others at the early and middle stage of the Primordial Spirit realm. Facing these powerful individuals, Yu Dehong had no intention of fighting. He was utterly powerless. Jianghu lowered his head and breathed a sigh of relief. It appeared they were weaker than he had anticipated, which made the situation much more manageable. However, it seemed that these people did not recognize him, so his journey outside was not as dangerous as he had initially thought. At least, they were not constantly watching him closely. These two have told us everything. You have to help us enter the Heavenly Note sect, said the elderly man as he pushed Lu Wen and Ximenling forward. They were covered in injuries and they looked helpless. The sect is not easy to enter. Senior, I hope you understand, Yu Dehong said respectfully. It's fine. You can enter with your identity tokens. They explained it very clearly to us. The man pointed to Lu Wen and Ximenling. Yu Dehong sighed. Jianghu continued to sense his surroundings and found everything to be fine. He intended to do something about this situation. However, when he was about to act, his eyes narrowed. He immediately retracted all his powers and became alert. An aura much stronger and terrifying than his own was approaching. In just a few breaths he felt a gaze on him. The gaze fell on him like the scorching rays of the sun. When he looked up he was stunned. Behind the primordial spirit realm cultivators was a man who had appeared without anyone noticing. He was middle-aged and wore a white and blue robe. He had deep eyes. He seemed somewhat melancholic. He was the master of the Heavenly Joy Pavilion. This was a person Jianghu had wanted to avoid at all costs. "What are you looking at?" the elderly man asked Jianghu. The others looked back as well and were horrified. The people who turned back instantly exploded into pieces. There was no exception. When only half the number of people remained, they trembled in fear and no one dared to look back. "When did this place become a gathering place for the Blood Shadow sect?" said a deep voice. Boom. 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 Everyone who had surrounded Jianghu's group exploded into pieces, including Lu Wen and Shimin Ling. Each explosion sent a shockwave through Jianghu's heart, but he remained calm. Once the people around him were all dead, Jianghu said respectfully, "Greetings, Senior." Yu Dehong and Ning Shuang also regained their senses and bowed. They had seen this person before. The master of the Heavenly Joy Pavilion approached Jianghu slowly. Jianghu had already considered his options. Once this person made a move he would attempt to escape. With the Heavenly Fate Misfortune Pearl in his possession, he should be able to prevent Nine Nether from attacking him. As for what kind of changes the Nine Nether would bring, that was no longer something he needed to consider. However, in the span of a breath, Jianghu saw the person appear in front of him. "Are you afraid of me?" asked the deep, terrifying voice. "Senior, you must be joking," Jianghu said. "Why do you think I showed up here?" asked the master of the Heavenly Joy Pavilion. Jianghu kept a cautious eye on the person in front of him. "Senior, I assume you are here to support the sect." "Do you think I'll kill you?" asked the master of the Heavenly Joy Pavilion. Jianghu's heart skipped a beat, but he dared not show too much emotion. He shook his head. "Of course not, Senior." "No need to bow to me," said the master of the Heavenly Joy Pavilion as he looked at Jianghu. At that moment, an invisible force began to lift Jianghu's hand. Jianghu did not accept this gesture of respect. "As a senior of the sect, it's only appropriate for me to pay my respects," Jianghu said. "You should be more confident in yourself," said the pavilion master calmly. "You are highly regarded by many, and your death would greatly affect me." With that, the pavilion master walked toward the battlefield of the sect. Chapter 685. The enemies have arrived. Jianghu let out a sigh of relief only after the master of Heavenly Joy Pavilion had completely disappeared from their sight. Meeting him here was something he had never expected. If he had made a move, his chances of survival would have been slim. Any method could have backfired no matter how well prepared it was. The strength of that person was beyond his understanding. When he looked over to the side, he noticed that senior brother Yu Dehong and junior sister Ning Shuang had both fainted at some point. It must have been because of the pavilion master. He surveyed the area and found 2 storage treasures, which counted as a gain. After stowing the items, he woke his 2 fellow disciples up. They were somewhat disoriented. They thought they were in danger but soon realized that a branch master had appeared to save them. They looked around but didn't see anyone else. They didn't know how they had fainted. When they saw the pavilion master walking over to Jianghu, they understood that some things were better left unknown. "Senior brother, what should we do now?" Jianghu asked. "Let's go back," Yu Dehong said. "We need to report the situation." He hesitated and asked, "What do you think we should say about you?" He was asking Jianghu if he wanted his actions to be known. "Just report the truth, senior brother," Jianghu said. He had done everything within the scope of his abilities. Even if it was a little exaggerated, it wouldn't matter. This way he could let others in the same realm know that he was not to be trifled with. For those who were stronger, he would avoid provoking them, and if there were any problems, his true abilities would be sufficient to deal with them. He would feel safer that way. With his cultivation at the middle stage of the Golden Core realm, it was unlikely that he would provoke someone he couldn't handle. The master of the Heavenly Joy Pavilion was an exception. "Very well. Let's go back." Yu Dehong breathed a sigh of relief. This way they wouldn't have to worry about anything. Ning Shuang didn't voice any objections and followed the 2 of them. In no time they returned to the command center of the sect. Yu Dehong went in to make his report, while Jianghu and Ning Shuang waited outside. Senior brother, you're amazing. You might have achieved some merits this time, Ning Shuang said. Jianghu nodded and told her he just got lucky. How much longer will this battle last? Ning Shuang asked in concern. Given that even the Golden Core Realm cultivators were asked to assist, the entire matter didn't bode well. Jianghu just shook his head. He didn't know, but with the master of the Heavenly Joy Pavilion here, they might have a change. Indeed, the outermost battle in the afternoon began to tilt in their favor. The Heavenly Note sect started to suppress the enemy. What was happening inside was unknown to Jianghu, as the power fluctuations there were too strong for him to approach. Their mission began to change. They appeared to be preparing to launch a counterattack. They also added 2 more people to the team. The 2 newcomers were both at the early stage of the Golden Core Realm. They were a little injured. It seemed that they had also been attacked. I'm Jianghu from the 100 Bones Forest. Greetings, seniors. And I'm Shi from the 100 Bones Forest. It's an honor to make your acquaintance, seniors. Jianghu and Ning Shuang also introduced themselves. After that, they shared some information about their origins. These 2 were the only survivors from their previous team, which meant they were strong enough to have survived on the battlefield. The 2 sisters looked somewhat alike. They might have been siblings. The next day, the 5 of them set off once again. Jianghu had appraised Ning Shuang the night before and found out that she was pretending to be clueless while secretly holding on to a magic treasure. She intended to let others fight while ensuring her own safety. She would only use her magic treasure in a desperate situation. At other times, she would ask others for help and protection. Jianghu wasn't surprised by this. If she were truly that naive, it would be troublesome. It meant that she was smart and wouldn't just drag them down. As for the other 2, he would have to wait and see. Senior brother Yu Dehong instructed them to follow his orders. However, if a fight broke out, he emphasized that they should listen to Jianghu. This took the 2 sisters by surprise, but they nodded in agreement. They were better than the previous 2 teammates. I heard that senior brother and senior sister were surrounded by some primordial spirit and golden core cultivators? Jianghu asked curiously. Yes. Ning Shuang nodded. How did you manage to escape? Jianghu asked again. We didn't manage to escape. We were saved by a branch master, Ning Shuang said. But the seniors were amazing. We managed to run for a long time before we were caught. Haha, it was just good luck. Otherwise we would have died already. Yu Dehong laughed and then changed the topic. So, what happened to you 2? Your team had 10 people and you are the only survivors. It must have been difficult for you. The 2 women's faces darkened. It was because we had a traitor in our team. Most of the disciples were unable to return. If it weren't for that traitor, we wouldn't have ended up like this. Their voices were filled with anger and hatred. Yu Dehong decided not to press them further about it. Jianghu observed the 2 women carefully. The others were talking and joking along the way. In the evening, they finally approached the battlefield, which meant they were likely to encounter more enemies. It's difficult to go back from here. We need to be cautious, Yu Dehong said. That's true. It's very difficult to return from here. It is inevitable to avoid an attack in this area, said Jianghu. Jianghu lowered his head and sighed. He then glanced at Ning Shuang. He was trying to guess what she was thinking. There's someone ahead, said Shi, who was usually very quiet. What? Yu Dehong was startled. Just as he was about to walk ahead and check, Jianghu grabbed his shoulder. When he turned around and saw Jianghu, his heart sank. It meant that Shi was lying. Jianghu's action surprised Jianghu and Shi. Senior brother Jiang, what's the matter? Asked Jianghu. May I ask you a question, junior sister? Jianghu looked at the 2 women. Of course, senior brother, please ask, Jianghu said politely. Let's say there was a day when your cultivation was hindered and advancing became difficult, and you needed a significant number of pills and spirit stones to advance further. If someone found you and said that if you agreed to give them your location, they would provide 3 times the amount of spirit stones and pills, along with profound techniques and magical treasures, would you agree? Jianghu asked solemnly. Jianghu was taken aback. The past is better left unspoken. I'm afraid I must insist that you do look back on it, said Jianghu. Then I have a question for you too, senior brother, Jianghu said. Ask away, said Jianghu. If, let's say, the same thing happened to you and you were offered the same deal, would you agree to it? Jianghu lowered his head. He knew that enemies had arrived. Chapter 686. Mining is very important. Yu Dehong sighed inwardly when he heard Chen Yu's words. So, these people were the traitors. Most of the team from before had perished, leaving only these two alive. And now it was their turn. The path of immortality was fraught with challenges, resources were scarce and competition was inevitable. It was up to the individual to decide how to become stronger. It seemed that his methods were inferior to theirs. Are they already here then? Jianghu asked. Senior brother Jiang, you've already figured it out. There's no need to ask further. The rumors were true. I must say your skills are exceptional, said Qian. Ning Shuang took a step back. Jianghu noticed it but didn't pay much attention. He thought she would wait for the right moment to flee. Perhaps it was because she hadn't fled in the earlier encounter, and the situation had worsened. She was more careful this time. Sure enough, a magical treasure emanated, and Ning Shuang's presence faded. By the time someone noticed, it was too late. Chen Yu noticed it as Ning Shuang disappeared. She was shocked. How could the seemingly frail woman vanish without a trace? If only she had been more observant, Ning Shuang wouldn't have slipped away unnoticed. As it turned out, she had been pretending to be naive and frail. She just used others and didn't care if others were in danger. We're done for, Chen Yu said in despair. Her betrayal would be exposed to the sect now because one of the people had escaped. She intended to leave the sect and never return. Jianghu watched and then focused on his aura. He closed his eyes and pretended to faint. Yu Dehong was astonished and had intended to help him, but he fell to the ground as well. Thud. Yu Dehong fell, but Jianghu, on the other hand, stopped halfway and then stood up again. Chen Yu and Chen Shi were shocked. What on earth was happening? Why was he acting so strangely? Jianghu remained calm and looked at the approaching figures. There were 3 people. Among them, 2 were in the early stage and 1 was in the middle stage of the primordial spirit realm. 3 people at the primordial spirit realm to capture a golden core realm cultivator like me? Seriously? Said Jianghu. Somebody paid a high price for your life. We didn't really want to come. After all, this place is in the middle of a battle and extremely dangerous for us. But someone offered too much for your death, the middle-aged man in charge said. Spirit stones? Jianghu asked. It was likely related to the Sunset Immortal sect. He hadn't expected that their long-standing enmity would be rekindled. Can you tell me who paid you? I deserve to know if I'm going to die anyway, said Jianghu. The son of Elder Gue of the Sunset Immortal sect, Gue Yun, the middle-aged man said. Jianghu had thought they would refuse to reveal the name, but he didn't expect the information to be so easily given. Jianghu appraised the man to see if he was speaking the truth. Indeed he was. In that case, let's not waste any more time. After all, this place isn't very safe, Jianghu said, politely. You're really looking out for, the middle-aged man said with a smirk, but he found that his vision was already blurring. Then he fell to the ground. He was dead before he could even complete his words. The sudden turn of events left everyone stunned, especially Chen Yu and Chen Shi. It was almost unbelievable. However, the 2 early-stage primordial spirit realm cultivators reacted quickly. One attempted to attack while the other tried to escape. Unfortunately, the sword light swept by and moonlight shone brightly. Their figures disappeared like wisps of smoke. Jianghu collected the 3 storage treasures and turned to look at the 2 juniors. Senior brother, this is all a misunderstanding, Chen Yu said in fear. She couldn't have dreamed that this Golden Core Realm senior could take down Primordial Spirit Realm cultivators in a single blow. How had they encountered such a horrifying person? Jianghu nodded in understanding. Then he swung his sword, and their world was enveloped by the blade's light. After dealing with the bodies, Jianghu looked at senior brother Yu Dehong, who was still unconscious. We can't continue traveling together. It will definitely become more dangerous. If I travel with others, I will surely be discovered, Jianghu muttered. With his current strength he could escape. However, it would be a problem if other sect members were present. He didn't want to take any action at this moment. Since he had come out this time, he decided to continue staying here. However, he didn't know what kind of danger he might encounter. People from the Sunset Immortal sect had already arrived. The Heavenly Saints sect, the Fallen Immortal clan Fenghua and Yinwei might be around here too. It was undoubtedly very dangerous. He had no choice but to remain outside the sect. If he couldn't fight, they could always use the 1,000 miles teleportation talisman to escape and return to the sect. Hopefully, by that time Golden Core Realm cultivators would no longer be needed. After leaving some subtle magic to awaken senior brother Yu Dehong, Jianghu vanished from the spot. He would head to either the Black Heaven sect or the Sunset Immortal sect to investigate the matter. He decided to find a mine and dig for ores. It was important for him right now. The enemies were not as important as digging for ores in the mine. After all, it was far from easy to make the enemy lose his trail completely. He would have to wait until he reached the Immortal Ascension platform to infiltrate the Sunset Immortal sect. For now, his focus was on finding the nearest cave with mines. Once he had determined the location of the nearest mine, Jianghu set off quickly. He didn't want to go to a regular mine, but rather a more profitable one. His first target was the mining site of the Black Heaven sect, which was fortunately not very far away from his sect. Otherwise, he would have to choose another location. The appearance of a Grand Earth Emperor might trigger the emergence of the Xinyuan sword. That would undoubtedly cause a huge commotion. He couldn't be close when that happened. It would be like jumping headfirst into the fire pit. It took Jianghu 7 days to reach the vicinity of the Black Heaven sect's mining site. It was a vast mining site that surrounded an entire mountain. Jianghu concealed his presence from others' perceptions. In this way he could dig in peace for some time. He would only leave if he was chased away. There were strong individuals guarding the mining site, so Jianghu didn't dare to barge in. However, he used his divine ability to appraise one of the individuals. He then discreetly entered the mine by assuming the identity of one of the inner sect disciples. In the mine, Jianghu led a group of miners toward a mine shaft. His official role was to supervise others, but his real goal was to mine. He had some people with him to assist in overseeing the miners. The miners were mostly individuals who had committed crimes or were from the demonic sect. Using ordinary people for mining would be too slow, so these individuals were more suitable. "Senior, have you thought about the matter I mentioned to you last time?" One of the miners approached Jianghu. Jianghu was puzzled. "What matter is it now?" Chapter 687. He must have been possessed. The leader Jianghu replaced in this place was an ordinary disciple of the Black Heaven sect's inner sect. After reaching the Foundation establishment realm, his cultivation hadn't made much progress, so he came to the mining site in search of a job. He hoped to find opportunities here. He arrived and never left, and before he knew it, it had been several decades. During this time he progressed from the early stage of the Foundation establishment realm to the late stage of the Foundation establishment realm. He was only one step away from reaching the Golden Core realm. It wasn't because he had any extraordinary encounters. It was mainly because he was ruthless in dealing with matters and gained many benefits from the mining site. Jianghu took notice of this and decided to replace him. If someone was just an honest cultivator, he didn't want to have conflicts with them. He didn't want to disrupt their peaceful lives. Ruthless people usually brought a lot of trouble. Jianghu had considered that already. But little did he know that there was more to the situation. He glanced at the miners around him and found that the person standing next to him was ignored by the others. He realized that this person had always been like this, and he might have allowed him to do that. Upon closer observation, he found that the miner in front of him looked like he was in his 30s or 40s and was at the early stage of the Foundation establishment realm. He felt like he had seen this person somewhere before. "How long have you been in the mine?" Jianghu suddenly asked. The miner QPPMPD Ronricht HP didn't NNDPRQTNND WHV thick kneener. Suddenly asking that question. "About 14 years, he said truthfully. Jianghu nodded. The other person, however, seemed to be somewhat worried. "Senior, are you going to make a decision soon?" "Let's wait and see for now. There is no rush," Jianghu casually said. Indeed, there was no rush. He didn't know how long he would have to stay here, so he might as well start mining first. The other things didn't concern him. For now, he just decided to stall for time. Seeing this, the miner didn't say anything more. "It seems like he still has some time to spare," Jianghu muttered to himself in silence. If the person appeared anxious, it meant that whatever decision he was asking about was indeed urgent. That would make things difficult for everyone. As they entered the mine, the people around them began mining. The treatment of the miners here was similar to that in the Heavenly Note sect. The only difference was that there was no lawless tower here to suppress people and lower their cultivation. So, there were many restrictions on miners at the Foundation establishment realm. Once they started working, it was easy to trigger them. If they could advance to the Golden Core realm, they could leave the mining site. However, Jianghu wasn't concerned about that. Mining began and Jianghu watched from the side. He was in no hurry to participate. After waiting for a while and making sure that there were no issues around, he approached the ore and gently touched it. He felt that the ores here were harder than in the usual places. "Senior, at this rate we might not be able to meet our quota for this month," said a Foundation Establishment Realm disciple who looked to be in his 30s. Jianghu turned to look at him. It seemed like he had reached a dead end and was trying to find some opportunities here. They locked eyes for a moment, and the junior quickly lowered his head and apologized. He then said he was sure that the senior might have his own arrangements. Jianghu felt that the person in front of him was particularly afraid of the person he had disguised himself as. "What arrangements do you think I have?" he asked. "Like letting these people work faster and catching up in half a month," the Foundation Establishment Realm disciple said. Jianghu observed the others carefully, and he realized that the miners' conditions were not good. Their physical health was below average, which was why their output was low. The miners trembled in fear. "Do you think that's fair?" Jianghu asked. "Senior brother, your decision will always be right," said the Foundation Establishment Realm disciple. Jianghu sighed inwardly. He realized that this senior must have been a ruthless person before. "Let's just work as usual for now and you keep an eye on them." Jianghu shook his head and took out his mining tools. Then he started digging. Clang. Clang. One rock after another fell to the ground. As the ores fell, white bubbles appeared. It had been a long time since he had last dug up ores. As he absorbed the bubbles, Jianghu felt some of his frustration and anxiety being washed away. Finally, he was on the right path in life. He didn't like scheming and fighting. He didn't like killing others. If circumstances hadn't forced him, there would be no blades in his hands. If he could keep mining like this, he wouldn't have any complaints. After that, he stopped thinking and began mining. The collision of the pickaxe with the rocks sounded very clear. His speed and strength were remarkable. The people around him looked on with fearful expressions. However, they quickly started mining and attempted to keep up with his pace. They knew that if they didn't keep up, there would be trouble. However, Jianghu was physically fit. How could the tired miners keep up with him? In just an hour, many of them had returned to their previous speed or were even slower than before. Everyone braced themselves for the torment they would suffer. They waited for the supervisor to stop digging. Noon arrived and they thought it was time. However, the supervisor continued digging. They thought he would have stopped by now, but he didn't. In the evening, it was time to eat and the supervisor finally stopped. But he only said one thing and resumed mining. "Everyone have your meal and rest, then continue." The supervisor didn't eat. He continued mining. After dinner, as they listened to the supervisor's sounds of digging, they felt increasingly uneasy. It had been a whole day. What torment would they have to endure later? At night, the mining site was about to close. Reluctantly, Jianghu put away his tools. Today's harvest was good. He had obtained 2 blue bubbles. The Black Heaven sect indeed had remarkable resources. "Work is done for today. We'll continue tomorrow," Jianghu said as he looked at everyone. The miners all lowered their heads and dared not look him in the eye. They had waited to be punished, but 5 days had passed like that. They realized that the supervisor had done nothing other than mining, and he even reminded them to take breaks while he continued to work. Was this really the same supervisor? He must have been possessed by something. Chapter 688, The Light of the Righteous Path. For 5 consecutive days, mining proceeded as usual. Jianghu was surprised. He had a 5-day concealment talisman, but he had only used it for 3 days. He had been betting that they wouldn't come looking for him for 3 days. It seemed to be the case that both the Heavenly Saint sect and the others didn't put in much effort to find him. It made sense when he thought about it. A golden core realm cultivator wasn't worth their full attention. After the 6th day, Jianghu used the concealment talisman again. This time he used it for 5 days. This meant he could mine in peace for another 5 days, which was good. He had made good progress. He had obtained 13 blue bubbles. If he continued like this, he would be able to advance in a little over a month. He didn't want to leave. He wanted to continue mining until the sect stopped the fighting and he could return. He hoped the fighting would last longer. Once the fighting ceased, the sect would look for him. The law enforcement hall was efficient, and as a person on their suspect list, he would be found and taken back sooner or later. He continued mining until early August. Jianghu noticed that the people around him were looking at him differently. They looked at him in shock and disbelief. He didn't pay much attention to it. What others thought of him was none of his concern, as long as they didn't suspect his identity. But others didn't think the same way. A female miner couldn't help but steal glances at Jianghu. Her hands were bloody from the cuts, but she was used to it. What really surprised her was the supervisor's behavior. They hadn't been punished and they had passed 10 days without any incident. At that moment she saw the supervisor suddenly make a move. He swung his hand and threw a long sword, which flew directly toward her. A powerful aura erupted. Once it made contact, it would undoubtedly kill her. How could someone like him change? The punishment was just much later than before. Clang. As the woman closed her eyes and waited for death, a metallic sound echoed behind her. She instinctively turned to see a strange stone monster pinned to the wall. The monster was just 2 steps away from her. If not for the sword, she would be dead. Stay alert, Jianghu said. In an instant, the entire mine was in an uproar, especially the woman. She looked at Jianghu's back. She was now 100% sure that this person wasn't the same supervisor as before. Pass me my sword, Jianghu said. The woman didn't dare to hesitate and immediately wiped the blood and dirt from her hands. She pulled out the sword and handed it to Jianghu. He took the sword and glanced at her hands. You can rest today. What? The woman was shocked. Your physical health is too weak and your speed is slow. Rest up and then continue mining, Jianghu said calmly. The woman looked at the man before her. She had never felt like this before. It was as if she was being treated like a person. Driven by an inexplicable impulse, she said, "You must be the light of the righteous path." When she realized what she had said, she lowered her head and retreated. Jianghu didn't mind. The light of the righteous path. He was just an inner sect disciple of a demonic sect. He couldn't be the light of any righteous path. Tomorrow would be the last day. The concealment talisman would disappear, and he would have to rely on his fate for the next 5 days. If nobody came to find him in those 5 days, he could continue using the concealment talisman. He still had 5 days left. However, on this day the miner from before found him. His name was Feng Wei. Jianghu had already learned about his background and realized why he seemed familiar. He had checked it before just to see what was going on. While he didn't know exactly what kind of relationship this person shared with the real supervisor, this new development indicated something. There had been a new discovery, and as a miner, Feng Wei couldn't act on his own. He needed someone to accompany him. Apart from that, Jianghu couldn't help but feel that the supervisor had reached the Foundation establishment realm in someone else's mining site. If he were to return to the Heavenly Note sect now, he should be in a much better position. At least the mining site there was better than this one. The light inside has stabilized and the best chance will be in 3 days, Feng Wei whispered. Tomorrow night, Jianghu said. He would mine for 1 more day and then it would be evening, which would be the right time to go and check. If there were any problems, he could return immediately. After all, they would come looking for him at any time. All right. Feng Wei nodded. Jianghu looked at him and wanted to ask how he had achieved the Foundation establishment realm. In the end, he didn't ask. Perhaps he would never realize that the senior who had given him a pill out of kindness had already reached the Golden Core realm. Just 17 or 18 years had passed since then. That night, Jianghu took out all the storage treasures he had obtained. During this period, he hadn't had the time to check them one by one. He needed to take a look now. There were a total of 9 storage treasures. The first 3 only contained some trivial items. They did have some spirit stones, but the total only added up to 3,000. It was meager, and there weren't even a few ordinary magical items. He had no idea where the Blood Shadow Sect's people had spent the spirit stones. Any next to were better. Elne contained a total OT Tiamartwelg 1000 spirit stones, along with some pills and magical items. The total value was probably around 50,000. This was what was unspent. If the people hadn't spent the money, it would have been even more. The person from the Sunset Immortal sect has a great background, Jianghu said with envy. The last one contained 200 spirit stones, which was still a good harvest. In total, the spirit stones were 41,265. In addition to what he had on him, he now had around 46,000 spirit stones. It's somewhat unexpected. I've become wealthy again. The spirit beast will receive more gifts. After packing up his belongings, Jianghu closed his eyes to rest. He waited for a new day to arrive. The following night, Jianghu watched the mine with some reluctance. He didn't know if he could continue mining after tonight. He was still some distance away from reaching the next stage of his cultivation realm. In the dead of night, he and Feng Wei walked through the mine. Feng Wei explained many things to him. He had discovered the location and only he could enter it. It wasn't easy for others to enter even if they found it. So, there was no need to worry. For now, only the two of them were aware of it. Jianghu glanced at Feng Wei. He knew that he suspected he might not be the real supervisor. He didn't care about that. He was just passing through here temporarily. He didn't want to cause any major trouble, nor did he want to make friends with anyone. Jianghu felt that there was a change in the surroundings, as if something was altering his perception. It's not a natural formation. It's influenced from the inside, Jianghu said. Feng Wei looked at the man beside him in surprise. Then he nodded. Yes, I suspect there's an extraordinary formation inside. Have you studied it? Jianghu was surprised. You might not believe it, senior, but I was stuck at the 9th stage of the lifeblood refinement realm for a long time before I reached the foundation establishment realm. To not appear so useless, I studied formations. Later I encountered some documents related to formations and gained some knowledge. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to find this place, Feng Wei said with a bitter smile. Jianghu nodded. Those days must have been tough. Feng Wei was surprised. For a moment, he began to understand why the miners had privately referred to this person as the light of the righteous path. This was the most righteous person they had ever seen. Chapter 689. Encountering a rare or vein. Jianghu looked around and felt that this place was indeed unusual, but it didn't seem to offer any mining benefits. He could only explore it. After a while, they arrived at a narrow passage. It was just wide enough for one person to pass through. Feng Wei turned to Jianghu. I'll go ahead. Jianghu nodded. He wasn't worried about being trapped or kicked out. He was merely curious and didn't care whether he obtained anything. He didn't need that many chances. The opportunities he already had were enough for a lifetime. There was no need to strive for more. If he kept his mental state calm, he wouldn't be influenced by external factors and could continue forward. Sometimes, external opportunities were attractive, but they might disrupt his original path to success. These opportunities often came with risks, and if he were dragged into trouble and couldn't mine or cultivate spirit herbs, it could destroy his original opportunities. The passage was not short, and Jianghu followed Feng Wei for quite some time. Finally, they reached a spacious cave. There were many formations in this cave. It made it difficult for those who didn't understand formations. Jianghu suddenly realized that this junior was quite knowledgeable in formations. We're here. Feng Wei stood at the edge of the cave. In front of them was their intended destination. It was a massive formation that covered the entire cave. What kind of formation is this? Jianghu saw a formation that covered the entire cave with spiritual energy flowing within. I'll investigate. Feng Wei approached it cautiously. Jianghu nodded and activated his daily appraisal ability. Rare veins. Jianghu had an idea of what that meant. It was a forgotten formation, which meant that no one knew what existed on the other side. If he could pass through unnoticed, he could mine rare ores. It should be better than what he was doing here, and his advancement to the next stage would become more achievable. He walked into the formation and felt a strange sensation. It was similar to the feeling of the Heaven Secret's hidden talisman. Can this formation conceal divine insights? Jianghu wondered. Perhaps because if this formation was forgotten, it meant they didn't want anyone to know about it. Now he needed to figure out how to use it. Senior. At that point, Feng Wei approached him. This appears to be a teleportation formation, but we don't know where it leads. Using it is risky. Do you dare to do it? Jianghu asked. I was going to ask you that, senior. I'm just a prisoner and there's no hope for me. Naturally, I want to try my luck. But you have a bright future. You must think this through, senior, Feng Wei said. No problem, Jianghu said softly. Let's give it a try. The risk wasn't that great according to his appraisal. He could give it a shot, but he had to be prepared to escape if things went south. In that case, I'll try to activate it, Feng Wei said. Jianghu nodded and didn't say much. At the center of the formation, he felt a surge of power from below, and then his entire body was enveloped by a force. With a flash of light, the scene before Jianghu changed. It was still a massive cave, but there were about a dozen exits and they all showed signs of abandonment. Feng Wei looked around in excitement. He felt that he could finally escape the mines. The restriction on your body is about to activate, Jianghu said suddenly. Jianghu couldn't help but admire this junior. He was indeed quite skilled. What do you plan to do, senior? Feng Wei asked. Jianghu didn't answer. He went into one of the caves and started mining. Soon he found a pleasant surprise. A purple bubble dropped. This was the first pleasant surprise. There probably wouldn't be any more such bubbles in the future, but the fact that it was purple indicated the presence of rare ores in this place. I'll stay here and mine. Friend, you can explore around, Jianghu said. This was a rare vein and he couldn't leave. With his Heavenly Secrets hidden talisman, he might be able to mine here longer. If the Heavenly Note sect kept battling for a few years, he could mine here. But there was still Hong Yuya. He couldn't conceal himself from her. Jianghu looked at Feng Wei. His cultivation was too weak. It would take at least a late-stage Golden Core Realm cultivator to threaten him. Jianghu shook his head. He could only take one step at a time. Feng Wei looked somewhat surprised but soon realized that this person had only come here for wealth. I'll explore around and if I find anything I'll come back and inform you, senior, Feng Wei said. Jianghu nodded and began mining. Clang, clang. As the hoe collided with the rocks, blue bubbles kept appearing. The rate at which blue bubbles appeared was faster than before. Jianghu was delighted to see this, but he didn't get too smug. He left marks around the area to prevent any unexpected disaster. 5 days quickly passed, but Jianghu never stopped mining. Each day brought him 4 to 6 blue bubbles along with numerous white ones. He could clearly sense the changes in his body. This place was truly a land of opportunity. In addition to mining, he also collected some ores. As for Feng Wei, he returned 3 times within 5 days. It seemed like he was exploring but hadn't found a way out yet. Jianghu checked his interface. Another day of mining and I'll be able to advance. He needed to advance immediately. Otnerwolf's mining Turtner would be a waste. As he was about to advance, Jianghu focused on mining faster. The more he mined, the faster he became. Finally, in the late hours of the night, a blue bubble dropped. At this point, Jianghu stopped. It's full. He sighed with relief and looked back. He saw that he had mined a considerable portion of the cave. He wondered how long this vein would last, and he was unsure how many spirit stones he could get from the ores he had collected. After a while, Jianghu returned to the vicinity of the formation. He set up a simple formation around himself with his own defensive measures. Only then did he put his mind at ease and begin his advancement to the next stage. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.